Hey guys, this is Kay Somji here. In today's video, I'm going to share with you a bit of a story about networking. This magic bullet that everyone says is the answer to all your business problems actually made me poor. It drove me $40,000 into debt. And so I'm going to share with you some of the pitfalls you need to be aware of when networking. But also I'm going to share with you the one tweak I made that turned everything around, and then networking made me rich. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it's also not all sunshine and rainbows. There's a way to do networking correctly. And the way that most people, I'd say at least 95 to 99% of people are doing it wrong. And it's actually caused them to become even more broke and their business to suffer even more. So I'm going to break those down and share those with you now. And so this one actually starts with a personal story. So when you think about networking, you think about maybe people going on Zoom calls with a bunch of people, online groups, online meetups, events, BNI meetings, those kind of things. And so I did all of that. More specifically, I was in a group with other business owners. We were networking Monday nights for 2 hours. There was also some Saturday trainings I would go to I was doing affiliate marketing at the time. And I even went to a couple of BNI events. I think that's Business Networking International. They got branches all over the place, right? And so I went to all these things diligently. And what we were doing is we were all kind of chipping in, sharing our knowledge, sharing our wins and lessons from the week, and just, all kind of throwing our own, 2 cents you could say in there, and kind of doing that. And then in things like BNI, people were looking for referrals, even with the other business networking, sharing ideas, looking for referrals, that kind of thing. And I'll be honest, I actually really enjoyed it, right? We'd go there, I formed some really great friendships, really great relationships. I enjoyed it, and I thought, I was doing something really productive for my business. I'm networking. You always hear networking is that magic bullet, right? And so I thought I was doing something amazing for my business. And I enjoyed it and kept doing it and implemented things. But when I actually looked back tangibly, which is what most people don't do, I looked back after, I think it was about 6 or 7 months, and I looked back on my business growth and I realized there wasn't any. That's right. 6 months of consistently, hours and hours a week. Although I enjoyed it, although I made good friendships and good connections, what increase did it have in my business? I'd pretty much say none. Now, there may have been a little bit. Don't quite remember the exact metrics. I wasn't really tracking. But any kind of growth that came was probably more as a result of the accountability, which I think can be good. But here we're talking more about the actual networking standpoint. And even if we talk about the accountability, it didn't take me from where my business was at zero to making $5, $10, $15,000 a month. You might be talking like a few dollars a week kind of thing. So in reality, it had no real impact on my business whatsoever. In fact, even though it had no impact, I would say it had a negative impact because all that time and opportunity cost was put in there. So I didn't hate the networking aspect. I just tried to figure out, why is this not working for me? And if you've ever tried to network, you might have felt in the same position and wonder why it's not working for you. And then I realized the reason it wasn't working, and it was partially me and it was partially other people. And so the problem was we were networking, but the caliber of your network also matters. So imagine you're trying to get better. In this case, it was business, but imagine you're trying to get better at golf and you create like a golf network, right? You're networking with other golfers and you are absolutely rubbish at golf, right? You don't know a putter from a driver. You can't swing a club. You can't do anything. And you're trying to network with other golfers to try and get better, for all of you to collectively get better. Now, if you're also networking with people who don't know a putter from a driver and don't know a fairway from a green or anything, how do you expect to get better? And it's the same kind of thing here. So if you're trying to get better at maths for an exam, let's say you get 15% and you get kicked out, almost get kicked out of school, right? How are you going to be networking with people also doing 10, 15, 20%? Even if someone is like the top of your network group and he gets a 30% on the exam, mate, 30% is still shit, right? You're not going to go anywhere networking with those people. So business, something like golf, even if you are overweight and you're with a whole bunch of overweight people, Yes, maybe if you've come somewhere already, like they've already had some success, but if they're all like £300, 400, £500, and they've had no success from the beginning, networking with people who aren't doing anything and aren't having any success isn't going to help you. So you want to start networking with successful people. And you've probably heard the saying, if you hang out with 5 millionaires, you're going to become the sixth. Very true. If you hang out with 5 alcoholics, who do you think is going to become the sixth? And then the question might become, okay, how do I hang out with 5 millionaires? It's not just like that they are there saying, hey, do you want to hang out with us? Do you want to be my friend? In fact, you probably can't if you tried. Just look at any other thing. If somebody was a real beginner at golf, yes, people are maybe happy to help you, but they probably wouldn't want you in their networking group if they're trying to get into tournaments and win. So how do you actually get access into those circles? Firstly is understanding that those are the people you need to network with. Because if you're networking with all the people who are at the same level as you right now, there's times and places for that. But if you're at the bottom and you're networking with those people, you're not going to get anywhere. And it's not for lack of trying. Again, another analogy, if you failed your driving test 10 times and all of you failed it 10 times, what are you going to learn from each other? How to fail even harder? So you want to be learning and networking from people who are where you want to be and have achieved some of those things. Otherwise, what really happens is it just becomes more of a coping mechanism. You go there, you have fun, and for me it was the same. You hang out with friends, you have fun, maybe you have some tea and biscuits or whatever it is you're doing at these networking events or virtual on Zoom. And I've seen this in BNI events as well, which I'm not here to knock the event itself, but most of the people in it are just there trying to get a referral, trying to get a referral, trying to get a referral. It's a big bloody merry-go-round. And if I was going to give a referral, why would I give it to somebody who's desperate for business, who's probably desperate for business because they're not very good at what they do? So all it is, it just turns into a big coping mechanism, just like a big party of people who are trying to get better, but it's not really accomplishing anything, is it? But I'm not just here to shit all over networking, right? It can be done very well. So now you know you need to get yourself into those circles. That's where you want to be networking, not down here. You want to be networking up here. How do you make that jump? Here's how you do it. So here's what I did. I actually stopped all the networking. After about 6 or 7 months, I realized, hey, this is not doing anything for me. Not only is it just self-serving, not doing anything for me, everybody else in our network wasn't accelerating and leveling up either. It just wasn't doing anybody any good. And then I looked at the amount of hours I was putting in. I went on this big rabbit hole of calculating an hourly wage or hourly loss in this case. And I realized, you know what, this ain't it. You know, let me pull out. And I quit all of them. It was actually hard because I made some friendships and connections and quite enjoyed being there. But I had to just pull the plaster off and just say, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. And so what did I do instead? I allocated all that time that I was networking into just putting my head down and doing the work. I just did the work. And so in business, a lot of people who are networking, they neglect the work, especially in online business, online information businesses. The work essentially was creating more content, connecting with more people, sending more messages, having more follow-ups, booking more calls, closing more deals or attempting to close the deals, following up more, learning, all these kind of things. I'd even say learning, not as much, more the execution, but all the hours that I put in to networking, I now put into actually building the business. And lo and behold, everything changed very quickly. A lot of people tell me, Kay, I'm putting in the work, but nothing's happening. You're not really putting in the work then. Because anytime you put in the right work, you will get a result. And then it's up to you to iterate and tweak and get feedback. It would be like going to the gym every day for 365 days and saying, well, I haven't even gained a pound of muscle or lost a pound of fat. Well, you're obviously doing something bloody wrong. And all you need to do is look at the work you've put in. In fact, I'd say there's no way somebody could do that. There's no way somebody could do these activities in online business and not have a small result. And so that's why it's so important to track. I'm kind of digressing and going on a tangent. But if you look back at your logbook of what did you actually do, that will reveal everything. So I looked back as I was doing this and I saw and I tracked everything that I was doing, from the connections I was making, to the number of pieces of content I was producing, to the number of outreach I was doing, to the follow-ups I was doing, to the emails I was sending, to the blogs I was making, all these different things. And the more work I did, the more things started to pay off. It took a little bit of time to build up. And at this point, I'll probably share the full story another day, but I was $40,000 in debt from all the different business expenses, products and trainings and conferences I flew to and hotels. And so I was building up, and it took a while for traction to really kick in. But after a while it did. And I started making some money. A few $1,000s here, a few $1,000s a month, several $1,000s a month, $10,000 a month. And it started to pick up and up and up. And it actually happened quite rapidly. Obviously, I was mostly selling high ticket and information products where you keep pretty much all the money. So it built up. And so just by putting my head down for a period of several months, day in, day out, putting all that time and effort into my work, things started to pay off. And then something interesting happened. Several months later, people caught wind of what I was doing and the success I'd been having. And that original group wanted to interview me. They reached out congratulating me on all the success I'd had and said they wanted to interview me. Now, what do you think I did in that situation? Did I say, hey, let's jump on the interview, try and get some clout for myself, a bit more exposure, maybe give back to the networking group I was in? What do you think I did? Well, I'll tell you, I actually declined that interview. And there's a few reasons I declined it. It wasn't because I had gotten too big for my boots or anything like that. The main reason I declined is because it just wasn't aligned with what I was doing. I wasn't doing interviews. I wasn't trying to jump up and down and say, hey, look at me. What got me here was putting my head down and doing the work. That's what got me here. So that's what I was committed to continuing to do. Not to try and show off, not to go on interviews and this and that. And then the second reason was everything has to be an equal value exchange. Just like I said, if you are completely broke, a millionaire's not going to go and help you for free. It's not because they don't want to be nice or they don't want to help. They have other things to do. The value is just not there. The value exchange. You are extracting value but not giving anything. So for me, I was just focusing on doing the work. But from a value exchange as well, this podcast they were running was only getting about 7 views. So it was really just me giving my time, if I would have done it, and receiving really nothing tangible in return. And I couldn't take the time away from my business. This, again, would be falling back into that kind of networking I was doing of just having fun and just feeling like we're all doing a good thing. And it would have been better for them to not try and interview me and actually put their heads down and do the work as well. So when I declined, one of them said to me, oh, so you think you're a big shot now? It was pretty funny because I definitely wasn't a big shot. I was maybe like a small to medium shot at the time, right? But it was nothing to do with ego or being a big shot. It was just more about the things that got me there are the things that I was going to continue doing, and the things that didn't serve me, I didn't want to fall back into that hole. So the thing I did differently was that I isolated. I went from all this networking and I just went into complete isolation. I didn't network with people. I didn't interact with people. I didn't try and talk about business. I didn't try and get on calls to pick people's brains and see what people were doing. I didn't try and funnel hack anybody. All I did was put my head down and did the work, and I got up to about $30,000 a month. Then things started to change. At that point, I was doing well. Things were good financially. I was able to do the things in my life that I wanted. I was able to do the things for my loved ones that I wanted. Retire my parents, give my sister a down payment for a house. Things were good. But I knew I didn't have everything sorted. That is when I dived back into networking a little bit. So then I actually decided to join a mastermind. I realized at this point, now would be a good time to network because I already had the systems and things set up in my business where I was doing certain things. I wasn't going to waver from that. And now the networking would actually serve me. It wasn't just without a purpose like networking. It was actually to grow my network, to find out different ways of monetizing, to find different ways of building a team, hiring people, different systems that I could install into my business, follow-up systems, automations, different things that I didn't know. So now I was leaning on experience from people who had a different expertise to me. Somebody in sales, somebody in automation, somebody in hiring, somebody in this area and that area. And I could also bring my own expertise to the table. So with that network, I actually joined a mastermind. It was a tight-knit mastermind. I think there were about 60 or 70 people total. We would convene on Zoom every couple of weeks. Not everybody would come on there, obviously, depending on the time. And then we met in person as well. One time during that mastermind, I was actually in Portugal. And so some of the key things there Well, now I was a valued member of this place. I still wasn't the big shot. At the time of joining, I think I just passed that 30,000. I might have been around 50-ish or so. And there were people in that mastermind doing 50,000 a month, 100,000 a month, 300, 500,000, up to 1 million and maybe even more. But the highest I know was people doing $1 million a month. So by no means was I a big shot in there. And by no means was I probably contributing as much as people were contributing to me. It's not always going to be a 50-50 exactly down the line exchange of value. However, if I wanted to learn certain things, those people would be open to share. And if they wanted to learn certain things from me, because it's not just all about revenue, maybe I was better at body language, maybe my closing skills were better, maybe I was better at the way I wrote my social media posts, my email follow-up, all these different things. So we were able to share with each other. And because everybody had paid to be there, everybody knew everybody was serious. Now, obviously in some of the groups I talked about before, people can pay to be there, but it's not just the payment being the barrier to entry, it's also what you may have done. So this network helped me get the right connections and helped me get the right answers to the questions I had to excel even more. And this type of networking, which I still do to today, not in this same mastermind, but in different groups, this networking made me rich. And you may be thinking, well, I'm not at that point yet where I can jump into one of those kind of networks, so I'm kind of doomed. But remember back to what I said. Don't look at the network to be the answer to your problems. Look inward and do the work first. Then, it's not even just about money. It's about what you've put in, what you've experienced, because the more work you do, you will get the results, as I explained, but you'll also gain experience. You do 100 sales calls, let me tell you, you will gain experience. You do 1,000 conversations, you will gain experience. You create content every day for 365 days. You're going to know a thing or two about content. Now you can start sharing with other people. And because you can share something of value, you're going to also attract other people who can share something of value. But in the beginning, isolate, get to that point to where you don't rely on the networking to build your business. It's just a nice add-on to help you even further. So in summary, put your head down, do the work, get some results, learn some skills, get some experiences that you can share with others. Then, once you have a base level, which you should get, then look to a network to take your results to the next level. And also, don't be so selfish with it. Also aim to impact the other people in that network. That's pretty much the way I went around it. You're going to save yourself months and years of frustration and probably $40,000 of debt like I got myself into. So if that was helpful, like and comment, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you next time.